Now let us understand about vectored and non-vectored interrupts. As we already discussed about various types of interrupts, now we will examine what are these vectored interrupts and non-vectored interrupts. Let me give you a demonstration of these vectored and non-vectored interrupts. Here let us understand while executing a program, CPU has been interrupted. Program current instruction is our good old friend 22. For this, program counter value is 23. Okay. Now I got an interrupt. Interrupt has been occurred, during which CPU should suspend the next instruction set, that is the program counter value, and should branch to the service routine. Okay. Service routine. Let us say in this case, the service routine is available in 11:20. Okay. Then CPU should be off to this service routine and should finish the service routine completely. Finally, it will come back to the previous instruction which was suspended. Here, let us understand about branch instructions. If you could recall the branch instruction, in the branch instructions also, we've been doing exactly the same thing. That is, when one instruction executed is getting executed, if there is a branch instruction, we will be branching to another routine. Okay. If you can understand, in both cases, we will be branching from one location to the another location of the main memory. But in branches, we are branching to a subroutine. Okay. We are branching to a subroutine. But in interrupt, we are branching to a service routine. Okay. In the interrupt, we branch to a service routine. The subroutine is a part of the same program because one function calls another function. Obviously, both functions are a part of the same program that is being executed. But here in this case, you can clearly see the service routine cannot be a part of the same program because the current program interrupted. CPU is executing one program, let us say P1. Now there comes a program P2 interrupting P1. Now P2 should come in, P1 should go out, right? So P2 is a service routine which should be executed. Got me? Now, let us understand the differences between branches and the interrupt. In one case, both are similar. That is, from one instruction, both are branching to another instruction. In branches, it is branching to a subroutine's first instruction. In the interrupts, it is branching to the service routine's first instruction. Now understand. When we are doing branching, okay, only program counter only needed to be saved. Only program counter should be pushed into the stack. Okay. But during interrupts, let us understand, one more program is coming in, one program is going out. So P1 should completely come out, P2 should completely get in. For that reason, PC plus all registers should be saved into memory. Saved in memory. All registers R1, R2, R3, R4, every program will use some of the registers. All these registers values belongs to P1 right now. When P2 comes in, which is a service routine, P1 register values cannot be residing within the registers. P1 should take these values out and get into the memory. Then P2 gets in and executes. And finally, when P2 comes, P1 should get their register values back, get its register values back, and should start the resumption of the previous program, right? From where it was suspended. Now, this is the difference. Branch instruction simply save the program counter because PC, the CPU, is not going anywhere. CPU is within the same program. But here, from complete one program to another program, we are branching. For that reason, we save all the registers values. Okay. Now, the important thing is, during the branches, the address of the subroutine is available within the instruction itself, right? The branch instruction does contain the address of the subroutine. So taking that subroutine's address, we will be branching to the specific subroutine. But during the interrupts, who is going to give us service routine's address? The service routine's address cannot be in the current instruction because the service routine's address is a starting address of the different program. So this is the reason why we need to understand two things. One is vectored interrupt and a non-vectored interrupt. Okay. Let us understand the difference between vectored and non-vectored. Okay. In the vectored interrupts, subroutine's address will be given to the CPU by the interface. By the interface. That means that the source of the interrupt itself, it is going to give the subroutine's address to the CPU. Which is the source of the interrupt? You know that the interrupt will be generated by an interface. Got me? What is an interrupt? You recall the interrupts concept? And you recall the interrupts concept? Flags will be watched by the interface. When one of the flag is set, interface is going to interrupt the CPU. Then in the vectored interrupts, this interface has an additional job of giving the service routine's first address to the CPU, so that CPU will be able to branch to that specific service routine and finish it off. But in a non-vectored interrupt, the source of the interrupt will not give you the subroutine's address. But in a non-vectored interrupt, CPU itself will find out what is the service routine's address. Okay, I will show you one scenario in which CPU is going to find out service routine's address. Again, at 22, got an interrupt. Program counter value is 23. The moment interrupt comes, CPU should suspend program counter, pushes into the stack. And now what CPU does is, CPU will branch to something called IVT. In non-vectored, the moment interrupt comes, CPU will go to something called IVT. What is IVT? Interrupt vector table. Interrupt vector table. It is not in rocket science. Simply, CPU will go to this table. Let us say this is the table. In this table, CPU will find the pointers to service routines offsets. Let us say 0. This is the first address. In the table, this is the first address. Here, I have a pointer to disk. 1, pointer to printer. 2, pointer to scanner. 4, pointer to keyboard. Okay. So here what CPU does is, of course, it pushes the program counter value into the stack and saves all the registers values. Then it cannot ask interface because it's a non-vectored interrupt. Interface will not provide you with any of the service routines address. So it will go to an interrupt vector table. In the interrupt vector table, there are all the pointers to those service routines. This is a pointer to disk service routine. It's a pointer to printer service routine. So CPU will go and poll this. That is, it is going to ask each and every location, did you interrupt me? If it says yes, it goes to the printer service routine. If it says no, then it goes to the next location. How CPU is going to ask? Simple. It is going to check one bit. Every pointer, every location will have a digit, which is going to state if it is the device which is interrupting. Let us say this digit is 0, which means that this is not the device which is interrupting. If it is 0, then this is not the device. If it is 1, then this is the device. In this case, CPU comes here initially and it checks this digit. If this digit is equal to 0, it goes to the next location. This is also equal to 0, meaning this is also not the device interrupting. Then there comes, it goes to the third location. Let us say this digit is equal to 1, means that this is the very device that is interrupting right now. So here, anyhow, this is a pointer. Directly, it will go to the scanners. Pointer, of course, you know that it will point to the offset. What is offset? Starting address. Starting address of the scanner service routine, which is 1120. So CPU will be able to finish the service routine. So in the non-vectored interrupts, CPU will be off to an interrupt vector table. In the interrupt vector table, each and every location will be a pointer to a specific service routine. Okay, so you need to understand one important thing here. IVT will be loaded from memory 0. Okay, that means that the starting address of the main memory will be having this IVT. The IVT will be loaded from memory 0. So generally, typically, all the processors will employ first a few 100 or 200 locations to load this IVT. So during a non-vectored interrupt, CPU will come to the first location of the IVT and starts its polling. What is polling? It is going to identify which is the interrupt source. By identifying these digits, when one of the digits are 1, that means that that is a specific device that is interrupting concurrently. So that taking that pointer, it will go to the specific service routine's address, thereby it will be able to finish. Which means that in the vectored interrupt, the address will be supplied. The address of the service routine will be supplied by the interface. In the non-vectored interrupt, interface will not give, rather CPU always goes to IVT, which is called interrupt vector table. Okay, this is the difference between vectored interrupt and non-vectored interrupt.